Here's a Christmas treat for you. Today we take a stroll through Park Street Gourmet, a luxury food and wine store dedicated to the gourmet in you, set in a beautiful location at the epicenter of Sri Lanka's gastronomic revolution. Walk around with me and check out everything that makes this festive season so special. And with our Christmas special coming up, we have gifts to give from Cinnamon Lakeside, Shangri-La Colombo, Shangri-La Hampantota and Mabrock Tea. More about the gifts later on in the program. Simply inbox Kaleidoscope on any of our channels and let us know if you'd like to win. A big thank you to our partners. It is they who make Christmas special. Skills for Inclusive Growth and Australian Aid, Srilanka Life, CDB, The Morning Newspaper, Park Street Gourmet and Zip Zip. Thank you. If you like Kaleidoscope, subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. Then you won't miss out.
Did you know you can open a digital fixed deposit with just 5,000 rupees? Open a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit today. CDB, your friend.
And we take a look at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Reports state that the IMF is not expected to formally approve Sri Lanka's $2.9 billion bailout before the year end. Sri Lanka expects loans of up to $5 billion next year from multilateral agencies, and the government could raise $3 billion through the restructuring of state assets. The World Food Programme approves the country's strategic plan for Sri Lanka for 4 years, valued at nearly $75 million. The Central Cultural Fund gets a grant from the US to preserve South Asia's oldest shipwreck, Sri Lanka's Godawaya shipwreck. Srilanka Life is awarded the crown of Sri Lanka's Brand of the Year at the Slim Awards of Excellence in 2022. More than 1,550 of the 17,000 marine plants and animals at the risk of extinction are on the latest IUCN Red List of threatened species. Football legend Lionel Messi bids adieu to the sport after this Sunday's World Cup game.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. Something's in the air this month, and unfortunately for us, it's not anything good. News alerts have been warning us of rising levels of air pollution in cities in Sri Lanka, and there have been a spate of lung-related infections as a result. Verite Research recently introduced airquality.lk, a website to inform the public about the quality of air. So I thought it fitting to speak with Verite Research's Research Associate Ashani Basnayaka about the air that we breathe. Ashani, the drop in air quality has been pushing us into the red. Is this unusual? Has it been happening for some time now?
What we've seen just in the last few days is a result of a depression in the Bay of Bengal, which is sweeping up a lot of the additional particles from South Asia. However, we have had elevated levels of air pollution, even when there isn't a depression creating this sort of circumstances which bring air pollution into Colombo. So what we've seen is that even when the wind is blowing in a different direction, there are still hotspots over Colombo, which means we're producing our own localized sources of air pollution, which actually brings us into the unhealthy categories as well. It's not an unusual case. We have had depressions before. I think it was in 2018, which also brought in a lot of additional transboundary pollution. But again, the main message to people is that Sri Lanka and Colombo, especially in the cities, does produce its own localized sources, which is enough to get us into the unhealthy categories.
So what should we do?
One is, I guess, people protecting themselves and their own health and that of their families. So that's not actually resolving the problem at source, but at least if you wear a mask, close your windows. People who are more sensitive should probably have an air purifier of these months, especially children, because they breathe at a faster rate, so they tend to absorb particles more. Pregnant women, the elderly, and obviously people with pre-existing conditions, because once these fine particles enter your lungs, they enter your bloodstream, and then, of course, that's why you have a range of diseases. So air quality has been linked to type 2 diabetes, mental health issues, aggression. So it's not what you typically would think as just only respiratory problems. So when the second, of course, option is to obviously annihilate it at source. We need to improve our public transport. So taking cars off the road or electrifying, going to electric, and obviously switching to renewable sources of energy. So you're not dependent on fossil fuels. And that doesn't just only mean it's not good, only good for your health, public health, of course, climate change, and there's obviously a whole range of other issues. And of course, thirdly, you're looking at better urban planning.
And now for a look at our markets. At the Colombo Stock Exchange this week, the all share price index remained relatively unchanged, while the average daily turnover was 2 billion rupees. WTI oil prices moved up slightly this week to $76.65 per barrel levels on expectations of increased demand in 2023. Gold remains steady at $1,792 per ounce and may move between a narrow range of $1,790 and $1,820 per ounce for the rest of the year. This year's Comedy Wildlife Photography Awards have some truly hilarious looks into the lives of our favorite wildcats, birds and fish. From a 3-month-old lion cub falling out of a tree to penguins talk to the fin and disgruntled owls, hungry hippos, Superman, squirrels and smiling triggerfish to make your day a little lighter. You've seen Christmas trees, Christmas lights, and now get ready for a Christmas parade. Manchester hosted its inaugural Christmas parade this year with performers in colourful garb dancing their hearts out and walking on stilts for kicks and giggles. Cold it may be, but it was surely magic. Don't forget, we have Christmas gifts for you. A weekend for two at Cinnamon Lakeside, the resort in the city, with breakfast. An afternoon tea experience with that delectable 5-tier high tea for two at Sapphire Lounge. That's at the Shangri-La Colombo, and a day visit experience at Shangri-La Hambantota for a family of 4 with a day room, a buffet lunch, afternoon tea, use of the pool and water park. And we also have an overflowing hamper of curated Ceylon tea from Mabrock. Just inbox any of our channels if you'd like to win. Up next is S4IG Let's Talk with Nayanali Dasanayaka, and today we shine a light on the season to care. Christmas is the time for festivities, but it is also the time for caring for others. Did you know that there are more than 1.6 million persons living with disabilities in Sri Lanka? UNICEF Sri Lanka released a report in 2016 noting that 86% of the population aged 20 to 24 are not engaged in any educational or vocational activities. The Rehabilitation Centre for the Communication Impaired is a non-profit that has been around since 1993, caring for children and adults with special needs. Now, I did a quick turn at the RCCI recently and met some very interesting people who were all in the throes of making Christmas cards, Christmas wrapping paper, bags and gift tags, and sharing some good cheer this festive season. This is Shweta, smile. And Shweta is at the Rehabilitation Centre for the Communication Impaired. The centre actually brings in adults who are communication impaired and keeps them for half of the day, teaching them all kinds of skills, not just at Christmas to make all these wonderful gift cards and wrapping paper and bags and cards, but also everyday skills, which Nayanali, who is a speech and language therapist, will talk about in a little while. Nayanali, welcome. It's been 29 years since the RCCI was established in Sri Lanka. In all those years, what have you learned?
Well, when Mrs. Shirani Joseph Deseram established RCCI almost 30 years ago, there was little or no provision for special education, and very little was discussed about employment for people with intellectual disability. But in those years, the concept of inclusion has changed, and the opportunities that children have for education has changed. But for us as an institution, the main learning point for us is about not focusing on impairment, but also focusing on ability, and also what people, or the people with intellectual disabilities themselves, want for themselves. It's about their own goals and then supporting them to develop those as transferable skills that will last throughout their lifespan.
So what are the common misconceptions about those with communication impairment?
I think the main thing is that people think if someone can't communicate, they're incapable of everything else, when in actual fact, communication is only just one part of a person and what they're able to do. It's about supporting somebody to make a meaningful contribution, and often we forget that, and we forget that providing an opportunity is what we need to do.
How do we add a more inclusive approach to integrating them into society? This is from after what you've said, that we forget. So how do we do that?
I think inclusion is not just a tick box exercise, it's an attitude. And as long as we forget that there is a person and someone with hopes and dreams and goals and abilities behind the person with the communication impairment, we are far from an inclusive society. As long as we look at communication impairment as a disease, we are far away from inclusion. So inclusion is about providing people opportunities to make meaningful contributions.
So what do you want us as a society to do?
Well, firstly, what I would say is inclusion is not a tick box exercise. It's an attitude. It's not about sympathy. It's about giving people opportunities. It's about understanding about someone's ability and understanding their disability, but offering them the opportunity to make a meaningful contribution. And whether it's about, including someone in an educational space, whether it's providing an adult with intellectual disability supported employment, whether it's offering them a job, buying their products, giving them a chance. It's about giving them skills and supporting them throughout their lifespan.
So it is Christmas, and it's not much to ask people, just to be understanding, to integrate people with disabilities into everything that we do, basically, right? Absolutely. Thank you, Nanali.
Thank you.
It's hampers galore at Park Street Gourmet this Christmas, with all the goodies that make your Christmas special. Pop into Park Street Gourmet and gift a luxurious hamper befitting the spirit of Christmas. Every year, Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week dazzles with some innovative fashion finds. This week on Life in 60, we fly towards Nili's Birds of Paradise, a brilliant collection by Nilshani De Silva.
My collection, Birds of Paradise, is inspired by beautiful rare birds. I wanted to show the beauty through my colors and patterns. Dresses are made of hand-dyed silk. This was done together with another designer, Savithri Rodrigo. My looks are fun, colorful and easy to wear. I would like to leave you with 2 messages. If you can dream, work hard and have faith, nothing is impossible. And persons with disabilities can also shine if accepted and given a chance. I want everyone who wears my clothes to feel happy, loved and beautiful.
So Christmas is around the corner, and next week is our Christmas special. See you then.